In case you're wondering about what room you landed in, I'm hoping you'll have that figured out. But you are in the MBA Training Series number 8 in our sequence, and it is called Behind the Scenes: Secrets Most Coaches Will Never Tell You. Now, I have to say, just this is going to be a little bit different than my normal types of presentations that I do for this. I'm not going to be really using any slides today. I may pop up a couple others to just give you links or something. But the idea behind today is that we're just going to have a good conversation. I want to chat with you about some of the stuff that a lot of coaches just don't want to tell you. And I think it's super valuable. There are things I wish I had known coming up in the industry that I feel like are important. And when you're not being revealed in these things, I feel like as a coach, if I don't reveal the truth behind the curtains, then I'm doing a disservice to the industry. So that's why I wanted to create this conversation today. And just so you know, it's just going to be me and you chatting. Now, at some point towards the end, I will open it up for questions, but I'll also keep an eye out for those in the chat if you have questions along the way. But I kind of have a flow already designed, and probably a lot of the questions I may ignore because I will get to it in my talk today. Otherwise, I will, at the end, we'll open it up to questions. And I hope you all will stick around with me through it. Some of it is going to be, as I was crafting the talk for you today, it's like, wow, this is kind of all over the map because there's a lot of territory to cover, and it's really kind of broad. So without further ado, let's just dig in and we'll see where it takes us, okay? So I decided to create this training specifically for intermediate entrepreneurs and potentially beginning entrepreneurs. You're just starting to figure out the terrain, or maybe even just deciding whether or not this business is for you. And by business, I'm referring to the online coaching world, online entrepreneurism. And I know, obviously, you were invited by me to be here, so you probably know who I am, but just in case you don't, I'm Michael Neely, former professional actor turned business entrepreneur. I had a high-tech startup company. Then I got into this online coaching world, started out with launching a podcast that really took off and started training other people how to podcast, even wrote a book on podcasting. Let's see, I've got that right over here, a little show and tell. My book is called The Zero to Launch Podcast Accelerator, also the name of my flagship course. And now I have 6 podcasts. I am the host of the Podcaster Cruise. I run a 7-figure business and growing. And so I want to be clear that today, the secrets I'm going to share with you, they're not universal by any stretch of the word. And what do I mean by this? I guess as I was trying to figure out how do I put it, the best I could come up with is that all Cocker Spaniels are dogs, but not all dogs are Cocker Spaniels. And so what I mean is that there exists this set of coaches, much like dog breeds. So I sort of look at it like this. If I'm looking at a coach matrix, there are coaches who are good at selling, coaches who are bad at selling, coaches who are good at delivery, coaches who are actually bad at delivery. And a coach who's really good at selling but bad at delivery, they're the ones who do a disservice to the industry. They're the ones who sell people into their programs, and those people don't get what they came for. And so they're left thinking the coaching industry sucks. They feel like they were cheated. And that's that particular type of coach. There's another type of coach that falls into the category of great at delivery, but terrible at sales. And I feel bad for those people because if they don't learn how to sell it, they're not going to be able to deliver on their wonderful message in coaching. And the bottom line is that each coach has a different story for sure. But after you're in this industry for a while, you start to kind of notice mannerisms, habits, ways of being even that put them into a class, much like personality types. And so I want to break it down into a few different categories as we go. And one of those is how they got started. Okay, how did they really grow in the industry? Many coaches will share their rags to riches stories in order to have you believe that you can do the same thing. And the truth behind the scenes often boils down to one of two things. Often the coach who's trying to teach you that thing, they got lucky. It's like the person who does on social media and it goes viral, and now all of a sudden they think they can teach how to make a viral post. And they just got lucky. They offered something to the right audience at the right time, and that thing, whatever it is, took off, sort of like winning a lottery. So the coach who did this, let's say it was a program they sold, they've now sold this and it did really well, and they got a lot of money to play with. So they start to hire bigger and better help, and they get mentorship, and they double down on their success, and they quickly grow. But the truth is they simply got lucky that first time out of the gate. And by the way, I'm not knocking that, okay? We could all use a little bit of luck. But what I am saying is this: just because they got lucky does not make them a genius. I want to share a little story here. I had a friend who sold their house in Los Angeles for a hefty profit. I mean, like they doubled what they had paid for it. And they claimed they were real estate expert, when in fact, I know from this backstory that they weren't even looking to buy that home when they bought it. They were living there, renting it, and the landlords decided to sell, and they were going to move out. But a realtor friend said, hey, why don't you consider maybe you should buy this, and worked out how to convince them and get them to do that. And then it doubled in value, but that was sheer luck. It wasn't like they were some real estate whiz. So I want to be sure you get that. Be sure to check into who it is you're following. Now, the next type of start is kind of worse, okay, though. This is when a future coach, okay, maybe that's you, you're not quite into this industry yet, but you decide to get into this business because you want to change the world. Let's say you're a holistic healer and you want to share your gift with people. And of course, you'd like to profit in the process. Well, while you're getting coached on this new business, you may be struggling, or this coach who does this may actually be struggling to sell their magic, but they see their coach killing it by showing other people how to do it. And this is where this one's a little harder for me to break down. I want to tell you what happens here. There's the shift that occurs, and this would-be healer decides to start teaching others how to do business exactly the way they are being taught to do business. Are y'all picking what I'm laying down here? You may have heard the joke that's kind of prominent in the industry here that, you know, hey, I'm coaching coaches to coach coaches to coach coaches to coach coaches. And it goes on and on. And the sad part is that that's not unusual in this business. There was one coach, I was watching his online launch, and I called him out on it. He wasn't too happy, except for the fact that he was killing it in the revenue department. He was selling people on the power of their story, how he could teach them how to use their story to make a fortune. So these starry-eyed beginners were lining up to pay him because, wait for it, he had shared his rags to riches, to rags and backstory, and they all bought it. Wow. If he's so good at story like he just showed them, then he could help them to do the same. But here's the thing. This is the magician's sleight of hand. You know, they want you to look over here while they're doing something else down here. And as he shared about how he turned his life back around a second time by sharing his story of addiction. The guy, his story was, oh, I made all this money. I was doing whatever it was some other industry, made all this money, but then I got addicted to drugs. I was, snorting cocaine. I was shooting up and I was down, I'd hit rock bottom at this point. I lost it all, and was just down in the dumps. And he then shares how he turned it all around. But what they're missing is this. He didn't start making money by telling his story. Okay, he made his money by convincing you, the buyer, to pay him to help you do the same thing. I hope this is making sense. He's not teaching you can make money any other way, because that's not how he made it himself. He didn't get wealthy helping people get past their addiction. He's getting rich convincing you that you can do that. And honestly, it's a load of BS and something you should be very wary of. So I'll give you the reverse example. As a podcast coach, I don't teach people to coach podcasting. I show them how to make money selling their stuff on their podcasts and other ways, of course, too, but not by becoming a podcasting coach. So just be sure as you're hearing people and you're looking at programs, think about how did they get there. I just came back from an event with Jeff Walker. It was a launch intensive. And if you know Jeff Walker at all, he's the creator of the product launch formula. and he teaches how to launch products. He's been launching his own, and one of the things he launches is his product on how to launch, but he's masterful at launching. He's not teaching me how to teach launching. He's teaching me how to launch my own stuff. Okay. And at Infinite List, as an example, we teach list building and we help you accomplish that. We do not show you how to start a list building platform. Okay. Enough on that one. Now, the third, and dare I say, best way to get into success as a coach is to think the long game. Okay. If you watch the growth of people in our industry, you can see that they started simple and they progressed from there. And most of them who you see now, who are the rock stars of our industry, they've been at it a long time, just like me. I mean, if you go back and look at your earliest work, or when I look at my earliest work, you may cringe the way I do. Okay. I know when I look at some of my first podcasts, I'm like, oh God, that was awful. But the best way to thrive in this business is to play it smart and follow the champions who've gone before you, not the foot soldiers, not the other people who are doing the same thing you're doing. Follow the champions. And another way that many entrepreneurs have sped up their advancement is doing what I call the second piece, buying your way in. This is something most people in our industry are not going to tell you. Most coaches aren't going to talk about how maybe they even bought their way into the industry. And I got to be clear, there's nothing at all wrong with this. And it's not exactly how it may sound, okay? Plus, there are degrees to which someone may want to or even be able to do this, okay? So let's start with a new entrepreneur, all right? Let's say they've had lots of expendable cash. Maybe they're retiring from a previous career and they've saved a lot of money, or maybe their spouse, is making all this money and hey, they're able to just go and do it, or maybe they got a retirement package. Whatever the case, they have money to spend and they're in a hurry. Have you ever watched someone on stage? Perhaps you've gone to their event and you see them doing their thing and you think, wow, they're good. I want to do that. I know I can do that, maybe even better. And then you set out to do it, all right? But you find it's harder than you think. What you didn't see on the stage was all of their years of experience and preparation and work that helped them to even grow the audience to fill that room if it's their own event. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who rush to put on their first event only to find the audience empty and the experience costly. Now, the more savvy of the bunch who does that, they'll be able to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get some coaching before trying it again. And this is where the buy-in often happens. If they've got the money and now they're smart enough to sort of see the game, the way the game is played, they realize they need partners. You can't do it on your own. You need guidance and you need people who are going to be willing to back you up. You need people, as I say, that are in your corner, okay, that are supporting you. And so they might not just hire a coach or join their highest level coaching program, that they might even reach out for one-on-one coaching, which is known as a VIP day in our industry, and pay for that person to sit with them one-on-one if they've got enough money. Most coaches charge pretty much for this. I think I'm probably one of the lower end ones, and I charge $10,000 for a VIP day. I know people who charge $100,000 to have them for one day. Okay. And if you can afford this, you can do it. Or maybe you might even jump into their VIP client status. They might run this VIP circle, which could be $25,000 or $50,000 a year to be a part of that. Or maybe even put them on retainer. Okay. But the wise decision is to pick the very coach that's already doing what you want to be doing. And they're good at teaching it too. Some people are good at doing it, but can't teach it very well. You want to find the coach who's already doing what you want to be doing, and they're good at teaching. Now, not only is this going to provide you the best education about what you need, but it's also going to position you to be playing with them and their other highest level players. You sort of it's kind of like jumping to the front of the class, and you essentially bought your way there. Okay, you paid to be with them. And I know several people who've done this quite effectively. You can jump into high ticket training programs that are going to put you and your business in front of the players that you want to be playing with. It is a fast track to the end results you're looking for. But, and this is the key, of course, it can be costly. And again, if you got the money and you can do it, it will fast track you. And there are people who are, will spend $100,000, $200,000 doing this. Because you're also going to be spending money on travel to go to their in-person events, and their delivery trainings are often in person. So like even this thing I just did with Jeff Walker, I mean, I still had to pay hotel, flight, meals. All of this adds up. And you're going to be spending money on the program, which could, like I said, be as high as $50,000. Never said it was going to be cheap. Okay. And if you've got the money to invest in this type of path, I would say go for it, but do it wisely and with a well thought out strategy. Make sure you're getting in the right room, learning the right stuff for what you want to do. Okay. Now, another way to buy into this industry is a bit less expensive, but can be fruitful as well. And that is you join a mastermind of the right coach that you want to model yourself after. Okay, not only is it going to put you on their radar, it's also going to put you in the room with other potential supporters and partners along the journey. Now, this is a writer-downer part, if you're taking notes here at all. A key part of growing your business is developing JV partner relationships. Overlooking this world, you're doing it at your own peril. I don't know of a single online entrepreneur out there who didn't do it with a little help from people along the way. And let me use myself as an example. I've long been a huge fan of Jeff Walker's. When I was just starting out, I was not one of those with a huge, nest egg set aside to jump into this world. I was doing it on a wing and a prayer. Maybe that resonates with you a bit more. So I started out as cheaply as I could. I think I bought his book for like $20. Okay. And I'm a quick learner and I'm a self-starter. And if that's you, then a book is a great beginning. But if you really get honest with yourself, okay, and I'm talking be that brutal honesty that you need to have about what you're up to in your business, and this is what I had to do, you're also going to realize that this route is slow, and what you may be saving on money, it ends up costing you in time. And in case you hadn't thought about it, you may want to emblazon my mantra on your memory. And my mantra is this: I can always make more money, but I can never make more time. I can always make more money, but I can never make more time. So not too long after I devoured Jeff Walker's book, I bought his online course for product launch formula. And that was about $2,000. And it was probably one of the best investments I ever made. So now I'm starting to employ what I'm learning from Jeff and other mentors I was following and buying their programs. I mean, his wasn't the only course I bought. And I'm starting to make some money. And now I've got a little more to invest, more to put back into my business. Because I knew that if I really want to make it, I've got to invest in myself and my business. I've got to get better at marketing, delivery, and sales. I mean, I don't know any of you who came into this business to be a marketer, unless that's maybe something that you teach. But most of us have some other gift we want to give to the world. And we're coaches and we're good at it and we're teachers and we're educators. But you got to get good at marketing too. Okay, you've got to become a jack of all trades until you can afford to offload some of the other pieces to your team. Okay, so now you've really got maybe seeing this as a slower build, but frankly, none of my story yet has any buying in. Okay, I mean, just buying a course is not really buying in. Okay, I'm not getting a lot of one-on-one FaceTime with these people. These were just investments at bettering myself, my skill set as an entrepreneur in this space. And again, no FaceTime with the coaches. I'm just kind of like a little tiny blip in their radar, hardly noticeable at all. But at this point, I got to let you know, I mean, I wasn't really going for anything more. Okay. I wasn't trying to fast track with a buy-in. I was laying a solid foundation for my long-term business growth. I was learning the business of the business. And that is a crucial part that most online entrepreneurs skip, which is why most of them struggle and fail, quite honestly. So learn the business of the business. Now, eventually, personally, my next step was events, paying for and showing up for higher level events. I'm talking about JV retreats like the ones that Christian Michelson and Jesse and Charlotte at Thrive Academy were putting on. These events allow me to rub shoulders with other giants in the industry and come away with great wisdom, but probably more importantly, great connections. in this business, there is a certain grain of truth to the statement, like it's who you know that matters most. You've probably heard that before for other businesses. It's who you know, not what you know. There's a grain of truth in this industry. And so as I was doing this slow build, slow growth of business, my name and recognition of who I was and what I was doing was starting to grow. You know, people were meeting me, and then the next time they go, oh, yeah, I know him. And it just grows. And so I continued in this particular vein, adding attendance to more mastermind events like the JBology Summit and networking events like the Marketers Cruise. Now, JBology was a small group setting. I got more personal time to deepen connections and meet some new ones. While the Marketers Cruise was a great way to expand my world. Okay, there's a lot more people. I was getting new clients, and I was able to embody my practice of a freedom lifestyle doing it on a cruise ship, which was great. So if you're not doing some form of this type of networking and connecting, I got to tell you, you're holding yourself back and you're missing out. Because this business is about connections almost as much as anything else. But sadly, that wisdom is often lost on most because you don't really get it until you got it. Okay, it's kind of like riding a bike. I can tell you how to ride a bike, and until you've gotten on one and you're riding and you're going, oh, that's what balance is, you won't know. And this is similar. And I'm trying to help you to understand this and believe this so that you know I need to build and develop connections. All right, so let's go back to buying in. Now, I want to be clear, even as long as I've been in the industry, I'm still doing it. And a lot of people, even higher up, are still doing it. So let me give you some real world examples. I am in a mastermind that's called MetaMind. Okay, it's a high level mastermind run by my friend and colleague, Mark Porteous. And in this group, I'm able to toss out my ideas and flesh them out, concepts of my business strategy. And I'm doing this in front of a group of diverse peers who I know are going to give me feedback from their hearts, and they're all rooting for my success. There's something to be said for that alone. And I've also turned some of those folks into clients and some of them into JV partners. So I'm creating a win all around. Okay, I hope you're following this and how important this is. Okay, and even more recently, I bought into a high ticket mastermind for $5K just to get to spend 2 days with Jeff Walker and his top coaches, Justin Livingston and Dan Walker. I literally just got back from that yesterday. And even though I already knew Justin, as we had been in some of these other masterminds I mentioned before, it was a great way to reconnect. But also, I got to be face to face with Jeff. Now, did I get value from the training? Absolutely. I would have paid $5,000 just for the training. Well, actually, no. Come to think of it, it was just the training, and Jeff wasn't going to be there, and Justin wasn't going to be there. I don't know that I would have paid $5,000. Probably not. Because what I really wanted was FaceTime with Jeff and his coaches. I wanted the personal attention, and I also wanted to become a bigger blip on Jeff's radar. Now he can put a face with the name if I show up, during launch and like, oh, hey, Michael Neely is, he's in the top 20 as far as sending us opt-ins. And I've been promoting Jeff for several years as a JV partner, and I know that I'm going to have to earn it if I ever want him to promote me back. He needs to know me. He needs to know what my offer is, and he needs to know that I can deliver on it. He needs to know that I have strong integrity and I'm a man of my word. Remember this is key. This is a writer downer, okay? JV partnerships are built on solid relationships. You've got to build that up first. You don't just walk up to someone like Jeff Walker or even me. I have people who come up to me who are just starting in the business and go, hey, will you promote me? You just don't do that. Because the answer is going to be a flat out no. I don't know you. You got to build up the relationship. And get this, as much as I got out of this 2-day event, I knew I needed more. Maybe need a strong word. Maybe I just wanted more. Okay. But I did. I needed more insights to improve upon our messaging and upon our own launches for the Infinite List and maybe even for my podcast course. And I also knew that more time in Jeff's world to build that relationship would be helpful for me. So joining his $14,000 launch club was a very reasonable next step for me. So I signed up. So before I leave the buy-in story and how it can work for you, let me leave you with this. Buy in wisely. Think about your ROI. I've been in this business a long time, and this is the first time buying a program like this from Jeff because I've built to the point where I feel like now it is a good ROI for me. And in the best case scenario, you're going to get the full value from the training alone. Okay. I know I'll get a lot of the training value from Launch Club, but the rest of the stuff, the getting on the radar, the meeting the connections, the building the relationships, that's all icing on the cake. That's the kind of investment you want to look for. And if you really don't need the training or you don't think you'll get the value from it, then make sure that there are other benefits that are going to keep the ROI up. Otherwise, don't sign up for it. And always keep in mind, do not be transactional. There are people out there, JV partners, who are very transactional. You send me 100 clicks, I'll send you 100 clicks. You send me 5 sales, I'll send you 5 sales. To me, that's just BS. I don't like playing with those people in the industry, because their heart's not in it. They're just all about, well, it's just tit for tat. So you want to be relationship based in your approach, not transactional. Head in with no expectations, but be prepared for opportunity to arise. You got to show up and you got to be ready to play. Okay, enough of that. Let's look at the next way many solid entrepreneurs make it in this business, and that is working their way up the proverbial ladder. And I think this is probably the best approach because it's mixed a bit with the buy-in, as I described in my own story, and with other things you do. And I consider myself to be working my way up the ladder. All right. And there are a lot of ways to do that. So in keeping it real, when you first start in this business, come on, nobody knows who you are. Nobody cares who you are. As sad as it may sound, you're essentially a nobody. Okay. Now, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but in respect of being new to this world, you're like the freshman at college coming in from a small town in the Midwest. Okay. I can really relate to this because I headed from Missouri to California for college, even though I had never set foot in California before. And I showed up for college here. And it can be fun and exciting, but it can also be scary and lonely. Okay. So to work your way up, start following a junior or a senior. Okay. Think about it in those terms. You're the freshman, follow the junior or the senior. Heck, you showing up for my video right now, these types of trainings, it's kind of like that. I've paved a path before you, and now I'm sharing it so you don't have to make the same mistakes I did. All right. You do your work. You sign up for programs and online courses that lead you toward your degree. We're going to keep on with this little bit of a college analogy for a bit. You got to work towards your degree. Now I'm going to repeat that last bit. That lead you toward your degree. Why is this so important? Don't buy an online course on webinars if that's not how you see yourself delivering your content or selling your programs. Maybe you're not good at selling from a webinar, so don't buy that course. And if you don't know what you might need, well, guess what? In college, you would go meet with a guidance counselor first. Okay, so you may be thinking, well, Michael, there aren't any guidance counselors in this business. Sure there are. I'm one. I help entrepreneurs figure out a strategy that aligns with their goals and their lifestyle and their gift, whatever their skills are that they're selling. I help them build a business plan so they don't waste time or money on things that don't move the needle toward their goals. I'm the guy that keeps them from signing up for underwater basket weaving because it won't count towards your graduation credits, no matter how much fun it might be. Okay, don't waste your time. Don't spin your wheels. So start out there. Design your business plan. Understand what you'd like to offer to the world, that thing that you're going to sell, be it a course, your books, your program, your training, your personal coaching, whatever that is, and then figure out the best way to sell it. How to grow an audience of eager buyers, how to line up the optimal partners that are going to help you put it out into the world. They're going to help you along your journey. Then you work your way up that ladder. You start to stack your trainings, learning them in the order you'll need them. By the way, this is utterly key. As an example, if you're thinking of starting a podcast and writing a book, start the podcast first. Okay. The number of people who come to me and go, well, I want to finish my book first. I'm like, that's an idiot move. No offense. But if you start your podcast first, it will give you the opportunity to build an audience so that when your book is ready to sell, you've got an eager buyer list lined up waiting for it. Don't do it the other way around. Otherwise, you build your book, you've got it all written, and now it's time to sell it, and there's nobody listening, nobody there. Okay. And if you're thinking you want to sell an online course, first build an audience and grow your email list. This way, you will have buyers ready when you are. And even then, by the way, I would sell your course before you fully build it. I know this one surprises people, and there are coaches who will share this in the industry. I've been teaching it for a long time. At the minimum, you want to outline your course, okay? But you don't need to complete it. Maybe make your first module, so you got that lined up, and you know the outline. Then you want to go and sell it. You have to ensure that it's viable and that people want it. And you set a threshold, a goal. Like for myself, when I first did this with my first online course, which back then was called, what was it called back then? Zero to Launch in 28 days. Okay. Zero to Launch in 28 days. I was going to sell this, and I had my outline, and I had my first module. And then I went to sell it, and I said, okay, if I sell at least 7 people, that was my target. If I get at least 7 buyers, it'll make it worth it for me to finish building it out. And then I sold 7, and then boom, they get the first module when they buy. And now I have 1 week between each module, or however many days. I think I lined it up with every 3 days that I would craft, put together, and have the next module available. You drip it out. This is called dripping. And I drip these out week after week according to the outline. And if you as you're doing this, if you don't sell enough to make it worth your time to build it, if I had sold only 5, I would have refunded those sales, and I would figure out what's wrong with my offer. Is it the title? Was the title not interesting? Is the promise of it not good enough? Am I not selling it properly? Did I not have enough big enough audience? Figure those things out before trying it again. Okay, and maybe just nobody's interested in that thing that you want to sell, but you got to figure it out. You got to test this stuff. Don't spend a whole lot of time building it before selling it. And this, by the way, is a great place to find another coach for helping you with that. For helping you to figure out, is your messaging right? Which is part of why I'm doing this work with Jeff. Are you offering it right? Is your launch proper? Join masterminds and go to in-person events. Meet people and make business connections. It'll help you move the needle. Often these business connections say, oh, cool, you're teaching podcasting. I know a lot of people who'd be interested in that. Can I present you to my group? And as an example, Chris and I host the annual Podcasters Cruise for the purpose of making deeper, more meaningful connections, which is, excuse me, losing my voice here, which is why our cruisers keep coming back year after year. The connections that they make are phenomenal, and they can really drive your business forward. And so I'll put the link if you in the email or in the YouTube replay of this, so that you can check out our Podcasters Cruise if you're interested, or just go to podcastersatsea.com. And here's the thing. When you join a JB group, which is important that you do, you'll be able to see what other people are doing. You'll be able to hone your description of what you do. And this is key. Okay. When someone who's been in the industry a while, like myself, if we hear a newbie start to talk about what they do, it can be a bit painful. Okay. Part of the pain is in remembering for myself how bad I was when I first was trying to tell people, well, here's what I offer and blah, blah, blah. A little bit painful as I look back on it, but more so in that I feel pain from it, because I'm like, oh, you're totally shooting yourself in the foot, and it doesn't have to be that way. If they'd only gotten a coach to help them with even just this little piece, so they wouldn't ramble so much, highlighting trivial elements that no one cares about but themselves, they would learn to be more concise. And I cannot stress the importance of this enough. If I'm speaking to someone to determine if there might be some synergy for doing business together, and they go off on tangents and they talk too much, I'm going to walk away. I don't have time to dig for what I really want. Okay. And just for the sake of you considering if this could be you, okay, this is a challenge. A lot of times these people won't even take a look at themselves to realize, oh, maybe I am talking a little too much. I want to give you an example. Maybe I ask the question, how much do you charge for your program? Simple question, right? These are the kind of answers I get. Well, that would depend on whether or not they've been in any of my previous programs, and if I'm doing this during a launch or just offering it on my website, because I got lots of clients who've been, working with me one-on-one for many years, and so I want to be sure that they get a better deal. And some of these people are actually in my VIP circle, so they might even have it already included, and blah 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 blah, and they've totally lost me. But more importantly, they've showed me that they don't really know the industry. Because if they did, they'd know that I'm only interested in what offer do they want me to promote for them. Is it your 1997 course? Just say so. Period. Say it's $1,997. Now wait for my next question. If I need more details, I'll ask them. Don't give me all this superfluous information that's worthless. The bottom line is please refrain from answering questions I didn't even ask. I simply asked, what are you selling your program for? All right. Anyway, enough digression. Let's get back to climbing the ladder. But hopefully you see that, if this person I just described as you, how it could prevent you from climbing the ladder, at least in my world. And trust me, there are a lot of other entrepreneurs like me. We will often I'll sit on a panel where people are pitching us their ideas to be partners. And the other entrepreneurs with me, and we talk afterwards, and we're like, yeah, they just could not get their message honed into just a couple of sentences. You got to really master this because it's going to help you to climb this ladder. And if not, you just missed a rung. Okay? Practice, learn, get better. And next up, to really start to climb the ladder faster, grow your list. I cannot drive this home hard enough. Okay, I haven't given you a lot of that today, but this is another one. Not to impersonalize it, though. Your list is made up of people. Absolutely. They're your fans. They're your audience. But for a moment, just for a moment here, let's look at your list like it's an article of clothing. Okay, I try to play with analogies from time to time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Y'all let me know. If your list is small, let's say it's under 1,000, that's like walking around dressed in shorts and flip-flops. And hey, I'm not knocking that at all. Anyone who knows me knows that that is my preferred wardrobe. I'm wearing shorts and flip-flops right now. But in the world of online coaching and entrepreneurism, you want to get dressed up. You need to be dolled up a little bit, dressed to the nines, as they say. So now you grow your list to 1,200. Well, now you're sporting some cool shades, and so with your shorts and flip-flops. But now you got on some nice sunglasses. Grow your list of 5,000. Well, now you're maybe in a dress or pants and shoes. Get it to 10,000. Now you're sporting a blazer, looking sharp. Build it to 20,000, and you're now starting around in Louboutin heels. Okay, the ones with a nice red sole on the bottom. Add a Rolex at 30,000, and so on. This is what I'm putting out here, and I hope you're catching my drift. The bigger your list is, the more attractive you are in this industry. You ever see a coach where you think he or she must, or not a coach, but a couple, let's say you're out in public and you see a couple together and you look at them and they don't seem matched. You might be thinking he or she sometimes must have a lot of money because of who they're with. Well, your list can have that effect in this industry. I've literally seen people jump in bed with someone who has a big list, but in my book, very little business integrity. And they're partnering with them all because of the size of their list and the impact it can have on their own business. Now, I personally wouldn't do that, but I want you to see the illustration of how important your list is to your growth, notwithstanding the ability to, now you've got an audience of people interested in buying your stuff as well. Okay? So build your business right as you climb the ladder. Make wise choices, get support where you need it, and lay a solid foundation for your ultimate long-term, long-lasting success. All right, now, shifting gears. Let's talk about the reality of their income. All right? There's a bit of a sickness in our industry that I think should be called out. There are many entrepreneurs who are highly ego-driven, and there's nothing wrong with the ego. Okay, I'm not knocking ego. It drives all of us to some degree or another, myself included. However, when that is your primary driving force, things can get way out of whack. You can spot these entrepreneurs because they're frequently talking about how big their launches are, how high their income is. Now, if this is in support of your marketing, that's cool. As in, like maybe they say, hey, I've earned 8 figures in income and I know I can show you how to hit 7 figures. Well, that lends to their capabilities, to their skill set, and it may be justified in saying it in that way. But when someone is saying it, it has nothing to do with what they're delivering or teaching, then it's simply their ego talking. And the sad reality is that when some of these coaches brag about $1 million launch, well, the truth is the take home is more like 50,000 or less. Not that 50,000 is shabby, okay? I'm not saying that, but let's call it what it is. I know people who've done $1 million launch and lost money. Okay, you don't have to believe in this, but I'm being dead serious. They paid out commissions, leaderboard bonuses, Facebook ads, their team, and the delivery, and all of the payout was more than the million that they brought in. That's the reality of it all more often than not. Now, for some people, I know that they'll even tell you that's part of the plan, because now they may have spent all this money, and they brought it in, paid it back, so it's a break even, it's a wash, but they grew their list by 20,000 in the process, and they'll be able to sell these people more down the road. Okay, which is true, but the $1 million launch was not a $1 million launch. It was a loss. Okay. And another truth to make gloss over is that the number they're bragging about, not actually collected. Okay. I hear this all the time. Some entrepreneur will say, I just made another $1 million deal today. While the reality is that they got someone to commit to working with them for a while in order to accomplish a goal, but they're not going to collect on the rest of the money they're charging, that $1 million, until the goal is achieved. Now, I got to be clear here. There's nothing wrong with this. But the reality is that they may never collect more than $10,000 or $20,000. So don't be fooled. And they said, just made another $1 million deal. My income is this, my income is that. It's a lot of hogwash. And there's another reality you seldom hear. An entrepreneur with $1 million a year business has very low margins, often 20% or less. The reality is, and this is the real reality of it, which I've been teaching this for years, they were probably taking home more when they were bringing in only 500,000. And now that they're making over $1 million, they've got a bigger team and greater overhead, leaving them with less for themselves at the end of it all. I've also seen these entrepreneurs crash and burn, by the way. Their margins become so low as they grow, and they keep working harder to earn less until finally they just let it all fold. And I even know one I just met at a recent event, who is stepping back her business to the basics, starting it all over because the margins got so bad. And I put it to you this way. Would you rather have 50% of 500,000 or 20% of $1 million? Now you can do the math yourself. 50% is the better deal here, and it's less work, far less work. So think about that, and then you decide. And I'm hoping that this dose of reality is going to help you. Okay, that's what today's call is all about. Just reality check. And speaking of that, just keep in mind that you should always beware the brag versus the reality. There's nothing wrong with faking it until you make it, but don't be swindled into working with a coach that is only showing you the brags and not letting you see what's really behind the curtain. If you doubt me on this one, just watch the industry and eventually you'll see it firsthand. You'll meet entrepreneurs, as I have, who are maxed out on all their credit cards and they're struggling to get by, all while they're bragging how great they're doing. Many of them are going to implode, some in bigger ways than others. So pay attention, see for yourself. Use the reality to help make you a better player, a better planner, so that you don't end up like them. Have a plan. Okay, and finally, I know, how are we doing on time here? Oh, this is gonna be nice and short today, under an hour. So let's wrap this up with what is enough. This is a story that I love, and it's really resonated with me, that I heard many years ago. There are these two entrepreneurs who are watching an excellent presenter selling from the stage. And this person on stage, they had all the bling you might associate with a multimillionaire, and was working the audience like a master, had the meeting out of his hand. And one entrepreneur looked at the other and said, man, I wish I had what that guy's got. And the other entrepreneur leaned in and said, not me. I've got something he'll never have. And the first entrepreneur looks astonished and says, what's that? To which the second entrepreneur says, enough. There are plenty of people in this industry who are driven by an empty hole. a void that they somehow seem to be trying to fill. It's no longer about being of service. It's about making more money and more money. It's about bragging rights. The Rolex wasn't enough. Now they need a McLaren. The McLaren wasn't enough. Now they need the yacht, and so on and so on. These people will never be satisfied. And that's fine. To each their own. But as you move into this industry, please be conscious of what you really want. What are you doing that brings you happiness? How can you fulfill on that? Make a plan. Figure out where your happiness comes from. For me, it's time with my family. But it's also about being of service in the world. How many souls can I touch and support? Whose life can I show up in and make a difference for? That's the legacy I want to live. And truth is, it doesn't have a dollar sign attached to it. And so I know what enough is, and I live it each day. I live happy each day because there's not something I'm striving for to fill something that's missing. I have it. So let me end it with this. I want that to be you as you venture into this world of online entrepreneurism. And I hope that this behind the scenes look has given you some perspective that may support you in your choices. And if you're looking for a coach or a mentor to help you on your journey, just message me and we can see if it's a good fit. So until next time, keep on shining like 10,000 suns. We're going to open this up for Q&A. I hope this has been helpful. And not a lot of people here. I know a lot of folks are going to want to watch it in replay. But if there are any questions, you can either just raise your hand and I'll call you out, or you can unmute yourself. And otherwise, we will wrap and close it there.